Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and today I'm going to be working on a proton pack fed out of darts Jupiter. Many of you, unless you're terribly new to this channel, are familiar with my normal proton pack fed out of darts Jupiter that is mounted to the side of my FDL3. Magnificent. But at the recent Out of Darts open house, I acquired a build-it-yourself Jupiter kit, and I happened to have a second Out of Darts proton pack. The one I usually run was the one that I was sent to review. This one I was wise enough to buy while they were still in stock. I hear they should be in stock again soon. Originally I had this proton pack hooked up to my smart gun, but it had issues, and I think it might be that it's more or less designed to fill a tank this big and was having issues with the smart gun's tank, which is about 5 times bigger. So this time I'm going to be building it for another small proton pack. I might try to make a slightly larger one. I like my small one because it'll fit in my trunk with my full HVZ loadout. This one I might go with a little bit larger, but the whole point is that I'm going to be wiring up a Jupiter, which is a very simple wiring. It's a hyperfire wiring. You've got a pair of flywheels that of course activate on the rev, and then it's got a pusher motor that is activated by the trigger that has motor braking on it. And that's really all there is to it. It's not a particularly complex wiring diagram. I am going to be doing a paint job. I have not entirely decided what said paint job will be, but I'd like to get a little bit more orange on there. They didn't have any plain orange triggers, so I got these kind of copper looking ones. So I may go with a copper paint job, or I may just paint these orange. I haven't decided. Definitely be putting some stripes in here, get a little bit more character, and should be fun. So here we go. Okay, the paint job is done, and while it's not perfect, I am fairly pleased with it. I will probably go through and do the Jupiter detailing in with a paint pen just to make it pop a little bit better. I might just paint it, but I do like the two colors because I've got the gloss orange with a matte black, and I really like that contrast. Like how that looks. Since I had to put some paint on the trigger, I will probably have to do some sanding or filing in order to get it to move smoothly. The rev switch isn't going to be a problem. The trigger switch might be, might not be. Still seems to be fairly smooth, so we should be good there. Okay, we have our proton pack adapter, so that's straightforward. I don't have to do anything to be able to connect the proton pack up other than do the standard wiring. And the wiring on this is a hyperfire wiring. So we've got 2 switches. Our flywheel cage will go in right here. We will have 1 switch here, 1 switch here. Power will come from the battery, which will be in the proton pack or in the blaster if I'm running it on magazines. We'll go through to the rev switch. From the rev switch, it will go to the motors to make them spin, but it will also go to the trigger switch to provide power to the pusher motor. So the trigger switch doesn't have power unless you're revving the blaster, and that's your electronic lock so that you can't push balls into the flywheels when they're not spinning. How I actually connect everything up might be a little bit different. There's not a whole lot of room in here, but luckily I can hop to segments and then hop to another segment and then push my way through and try to take up as little space as possible. Where'd my trigger go? Am I looking at it and not seeing it? I am. There it is. Alright, that's going to go right there. And definitely looks like we might need to sand a little bit, file a little bit to get some of that paint junk off of there. Let's do this thing! it's done. Before I talk about it, let's go play with it. Because I wanna. Right, I am here on the range, and I have both of my Out of Darts Jupiters and Proton packs. I have, first here is my modular one, the one that was given to me by Out of Darts to do a review on, that TSA broke and that I then made modular, that I strapped to the side of my FDL3 for HVZs when I go heavy. I like to have the semi-automatic and the fully automatic, and this thing has a fairly impressive rate of fire. I used to think it was an obscene and unnecessary rate of fire at about 14 darts per second. It looks about like this. And that's, calm yourself. That works perfectly good for busting up hordes or for shooting at super zombies, shield zombies, claw zombies, the really fast zombies, your Mowglis, your Kennys, your Legoloses, those ones where trusting in one dart to get the job done is just not a good idea. Being able to pop this out and just hose a bit definitely works well. However, let's take a look at this new one. Yeah, I hope you got your head screwed on. I finally got that last ball. This one is coming in at somewhere between 32 and 37 rounds per second. It is a hose. Its burst is about 10 rounds. The least I can get it to fire is about 5 rounds, and that's with the quickest of taps. Let's finish off the tank. That was it. I'm out of balls. Right, so let's take a moment to talk about this weapons grade absurdity. Yeah, so the packs themselves, the proton packs themselves, are, as far as I know, basically identical. They're both Out of Darts proton packs. They have all the same internals. This is the one that I was given by Out of Darts to review. This is the one I then bought later because I wanted to make sure I got a second one. Glad I did, because they are now not available due to the chip shortage. Supposedly, they may be able to get the control boards again soon, and proton packs will become available again. I will probably snag a second or a third one when that happens. We will see. But those are pretty much the same. The difference is in the blasters. Now, I believe they both have the same flywheels and flywheel motors. They are Out of Darts Krakens, is what I believe the flywheels are in here. The difference comes in that pusher motor, that little stepper motor that they have with the gearbox on it. This one obviously has a considerably higher rate RPM. I don't know what the exact RPMs on them are, but this one is considerably more. The rates of fire, my original one, the one that I used for HVZ, has about 14 rounds per second is what it was clocking in at. This one clocked in at 32, though I did see some spikes and checked it again, and on the spikes where you see that sudden jump in power, typically right when you fire a burst, or just right at the beginning of a burst, it actually came in at 37, and that's nuts. There's also always a spike right when you get to the end of the tank. It's one of the ways you can tell you've gotten to the end, is there'll suddenly be a massive spike in firepower, which can be a good thing and potentially a bad thing. The other difference with this one, this is the modular one. The handle comes off and it can be rail mounted, and that's really cool. This one doesn't have that, and I don't plan to have that. This one I built for other purposes. And I definitely want to keep this rate of fire for HVZ, the lower rate of fire, because this one, with the size of the tank that's in here, has about 30 seconds of sustained fire. And if you're firing in small bursts, you can get quite a few bursts out of that. And that is really, really nice for HVZ. You're not going to burn through all your ammo practically instantaneously. You're not putting way more ammo out than you need to. You're probably putting out more, but like I said, I tend to be shooting at harder targets to hit, and so having that high rate of fire and that high capacity is really, really handy, and it has saved me multiple times. This one, because of the ridiculous high rate of fire, has about 12 seconds of sustained fire, give or take. And that's not particularly useful in most situations. I'm honestly not sure what situations this would be useful in, because you're going to run out of ammo so very, very quickly. Now, if I could hook this up to one of my larger tanks, that might be a different story, though most of my larger tanks, I think the tank has a slower rate of feed, and so I might not be able to get quite that rate of fire at it, or it would be more inconsistent. More testing is needed, but it is exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted an absolutely absurd dart hose, and now I have one. I have my practical one for practical uses and my impractical one for impractical uses, and that was the goal of this operation. Love the backpacks. Definitely prefer the look of this one. I like the orange better. I like it's got more black and it's got a lot more molly. I don't remember where I got this one. The orange is a little bit more on the red side. Doesn't have nearly as much molly, but it's still a nice one. It also seems a little bit smaller, perhaps. The very similar design, but I think this one's a little bit smaller. Now, so if anybody knows of a better tank of some kind that fits this style of backpack as just a tactical backpack on Amazon, I would love to try going with something just a little bit bigger. I may custom make something, but I would rather have something that is actually fully sealed. I have a couple of thoughts I'll have to try, but let me know. Let me know what you think of the whole concept of proton pack blasters like this. Which rate of fire would you go for? What do you think would actually be a truly practical use for something with this obscene a rate of fire? There's a couple of game types I can think of where like the goal is to fill your enemy's bucket with ammo. That might work. Or if you had something that needed to be hit just an obscene number of times, this could do it, though even keeping track of how many times it would be hit might be a little bit difficult, but let me know. Let me know. And thank you for watching. Now I gotta clean up this mess. Luckily, I have a garden weasel.